The idea of acknowledging alumni was started a few years ago, and with the two today, we now have 10 in total. We're looking for past students that have been very successful in whatever endeavour they've undertaken and have been in some way acknowledged by their peers for what they have done. The first alumnus was Jack Adam, and Jack can't be here today. He's seriously ill in hospital. And we wish him all the very best. Second was Lieutenant General Timothy Keating, who was Chief of Defence of New Zealand. Professor Paul Moon, Professor of History at AUT University. Philippa Boynes from Lord of the Rings. Linda Wagner, who's here today, played netball for New Zealand, and Books and Homes is what she works on at the moment. Dr. Robert Dunlop is in London. He's a clinical director of a company called Infomed. Whaia Awa Hudson, who's here today, the first person in New Zealand to introduce Te Reo Māori into mainstream schools. And she's a long-serving past staff member of Massey High School. Dr. Mark Hickford, who's a legal advisor in the Prime Minister's Policy Advisory Group. And now we're adding Craig Walker and Grant Lupton. So first of all, Craig Walker. I apologise if I get some of this wrong. Craig was a foundation student at Massey High School and attended from 1969 to 1972. His wife Sharon also attended the school, as did their two daughters, Kylie and Rhiannon. At school, Craig was already showing his leadership and his sense of community. He played soccer, was a member of the school council, was on the school bus committee, and was his class captain. On leaving school, he entered the world of heavy haulage. He worked for Johnson House Removals, drove petrol tankers for Mobil, then worked for Haynes House Haulage, before starting up Auckland Building Removals in partnership with his colleague Ian Mackay. In 1987, he established Craig Walker Building Removals, which has grown into the very successful business it is today. Craig's father was an officer in the RNZAF, and Craig has also retained a strong interest in the Air Force, particularly through the Whenuapai Air Force Base, where he is an honorary officer. His contribution to the Whenuapai base includes being patron of 30 Squadron Air Training Corps. He had significant input into the Base Amenities Centre. He has committed a building for the future childcare centre. He has offered to relocate a new hangar for the gliding club of the Whenuapai aviation community. And he has also supported the NZSAS based at Papakura. Craig has always highly valued his community, and many community organisations have benefited from his support. Some of these are Waitakere Volunteer Fire Service, Silverdale Fire Brigade, the Starship Foundation, Child Cancer Foundation, Habitat for Humanity, Lions and Rotary Clubs, Westpac Rescue Helicopter, Muriwai Surf Lifesaving Club, Kumu Arts Centre, and almost every school and preschool in this area. Of particular interest to Craig are the Whenuapai Primary School and Massey High School, where he attended, his wife Sharon and his children. Craig and his family have strongly supported Whenuapai School over many years in many different ways. Recently, he donated a building for their resource room, which he officially opened. At Massey High School, Craig is the Deputy Chair of the Massey High School Foundation. And Craig has been incredibly generous with his time, his leadership and his philanthropy for our school community. This has included the purchase, renovation and sale of a house by auction, which he funded for the foundation and which got the foundation off to a good start. Through Craig, the foundation has purchased 2 more houses, one of which Craig has renovated and sold, and the third will be auctioned next year at the school on a market day to be held on the 28th of March, and we'd love to see you all there. Craig is also involved with our vocational academies, in particular the Carpentry Academy, where our students build houses. Craig generously relocates the houses when they are sold, and has recently moved a relocatable building within our school for the academy, and another is planned. As already mentioned, Craig is actively involved with the heavy haulage industry. He is a former president of the New Zealand Heavy Haulage Association, 2001 to 2003. He's a board member and was awarded the Gus Breen Memorial Award for services to this industry in 2004. In 2002, Craig was made a life member of this association, and during his time as president, amongst other things, he led the development of the House Movers Code of Practice. Craig's huge contribution to the heavy haulage industry and to the community was acknowledged in this year's New Year's Honours List when he was awarded the honour Member of the New Zealand Order of Merit. Today, we acknowledge Craig's contribution by inducting him into the Massey High School Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame. And I'd like to ask Sir Colin if you could get one of those boxes there behind you and a tie, and if Craig could come forward please, and Sir Colin present him with his award. That's all right? Sorry about that, Craig. Grant Lupton, Distinguished Alumnus, Massey High School. Grant was a foundation student of Massey High School also, and attended from 1969 to 1973. He was extensively involved in the school through sport, outdoor education, and leadership activities. He was the vice captain of the First 15 rugby team. He represented the school in athletics, where he became the Western District's intermediate boys 400 metre champion. He captained the hockey team. He organised the canoe trip down the Wanganui River, participated in drama and music, was on the school council, and was the school's first head boy. Grant was always keen on the outdoors, and on leaving school, he became a foundation instructor at the Sir Edmund Hillary Outdoor Pursuit Centre. And with Graham Dingle, he completed the first unescorted kayak crossing of Cook Strait in 1975. In 1978, Craig went on his OE and moved to Canada, where he became an ambulance officer before transferring to the fire service, rising through to the position of Deputy Fire Commissioner for the province of British Columbia. During this time, Grant helped coordinate fire and rescue operations for the 1994 Commonwealth Games, held in Victoria, British Columbia. While in this role, Grant was recruited by the South Australian Metropolitan Fire Service to the position of Chief Fire Officer and Chief Executive. He is currently the longest serving Chief Fire Officer in Australasia. During this time, Grant worked with the Kingdom of Tonga and the Pacific Islands Fire Service, establishing partnerships with the Australian and New Zealand Fire Services. He has also served as a director of the Fire Chiefs Association of Asia and the Australasian Fire and Emergency Services Authority. In 2009, Grant was elected to the board of the Institution of Fire Engineers, based in the United Kingdom, with 43 branches worldwide. In 2012, Grant was acknowledged by his peers when they elected him as International President of the Institution of Fire Engineers and Board Chairman. He is still the Board Chairman, and his duty in terms of the President has just finished, so he's immediate past President. He became the first Chief Fire Officer to hold both posts simultaneously since the IFE was established in 1918. And if that isn't enough, he is also a board member of the South Australian Rugby Union. Grant holds a bachelor's degree in leadership and public safety from Simon Fraser University in Canada, and is a certified professional manager and fellow of the Australian Institute of Management. Grant has also been recognised for his work in British Columbia and South Australia, with awards of many medals and certificates and life membership of the British Columbia Fire Prevention Officers Association. Today, we acknowledge Grant for his contribution by inducting him into the Massey High School Alumni Hall of Fame. Congratulations, and thank you, Grant. And just before I ask them or give them the opportunity to respond, when I looked through their file, I found an interesting letter. And it was the same letter written to Craig's parents as it's written to Grant's parents. And it was written by Jack Adam. And it said, Mr. Curtis, who's sitting down there, has reported to me that Grant has had to be reminded 3 times this year to have a haircut. I hoped that Mr. Curtis would not be placed in this embarrassing position. Most of our boys now know the length of hair which we are prepared to tolerate and get it cut before we have to remind them. I hope that this will not be necessary in the future. So that's the same for Craig as it is for Grant. So congratulations, you're a likely to come at Grant?
Well, thank you everybody, and I'm so excited to be here, but safety comes first, so I know Mark gave a safety briefing when he opened the event. I should give one too, and so if there is a fire and you see me running, just try and keep up. I'm going to follow the 3 rules of public speaking. I'm going to stand up to be seen, I'm going to speak up to be heard, and I'm going to sit down to be appreciated. So I won't talk for too long, but Sir Colin Meads, a fellow Alumni Award recipient Craig Walker and Foundation skillmate, distinguished guests, fellow alumni and students and family and friends, thank you all for this great honour. I'd like to acknowledge Massey High School Principal Bruce Ritchie and his PA Robin and the Alumni Association for all the arrangements and for getting in touch with me, and I was so thrilled to be approached. Thank you for your leadership for the last 21 years, Bruce. I'd like to acknowledge our founding principal, Jack Adam, who's very unwell and can't be here. It's really sad. I'd like to thank him for the positive influence that he had on my life. I'd also like to acknowledge Rex Curtis and his wife Nolene, who are on our table today. Rex was a foundation teacher. He's my rugby coach. He's been a lifelong friend. Rex and Nolene come and stay with us. Sometimes he's been to graduation awards in the fire service in South Australia, and just shows you what a great influence teachers can have on your life. I'd like to thank my dad, Morris Lupton, for his kindness and support, and I know that if Mum was still here, she'd be very proud today as well. I'd like to recognise my niece Maria and my great nieces and nephews, Sophie, Stefan and Daniel. Thank them for coming. They're representing my 2 daughters who live in British Columbia. They'd like to be here, but acknowledge them. My best friend Dennis Major and his wife Jill. Dennis is a former Massey High School student. He was the best man at our wedding, so great to have him here. And especially my lovely wife Debbie. Thank her for her love and support. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up one day and it's all a dream, because being a husband is just so amazing. I can't overemphasise the positive influence a great school like Massey High School can have on your life, and the important foundation that and building blocks that my time at Massey High School meant for me, and gave me the courage to go forward. And I was talking with Sir Colin about the values that we have back then as Kiwis and being around the world, and also going to a school like Massey, you learn to talk to anybody. And it doesn't matter where you go in the world, you can relate. And that's one of the great things about a school like ours, with so many different people from all over. We're not up ourselves, we're just grounded people like Westies, and it's a good way to be. As foundation students, Craig and I were lucky enough to start our school within a school. And that was a really unique experience, where we started out in Henderson High School, because Massey High School wasn't built then, and so the first year we were a school within a school, and we were all third formers. And I'll tell you what, that built character for the teachers and staff, because we had to somehow survive, and all our sports teams were always smaller than everybody else, but as we grew in stature and confidence, so did some of the results. But I won't forget that experience, and I think it made a special bond that we were lucky to have. So Colin, you were always my hero growing up. I saw you play your last game in 1973, and those were the days where we were allowed on the fields after the game, and after that match at Eden Park, a whole lot of us went out onto the grounds to honour you, and I got a chance to stand beside you and walk off, and that was a great memory for me. And so throughout my life, you know, when I've had to face challenges or need to find some courage, I always imagine if Colin Meach was standing next to me, what would he think? I wouldn't want to let him down. So I tell you what, to have lunch with him today and have him here presenting this award means more than you can know. I also use your name as my PIN number on my bank account. I'll have to change that. The school's emblem of the eagle, signifying our association with the Air Force, is really significant. Whenua and Hobsonville bases, and with my dad, ex-RNZAF World War II, and my uncle being in the RNZAF, and the inspiration of seeking the heights. And underneath that, the school, the torch of knowledge. And it's interesting for me because Bruce mentioned about being involved with the Institution of Fire Engineers. And we also use the torch of knowledge both from a learning point of view and from a fire point of view. And so, you know, I hadn't really thought about it till recently, but I wonder if that torch had some influence on me to follow a career in the fire and emergency services. But the motto, you know, seek the heights, has a lot of meaning, partly with the Air Force, but also about being the best you can be. And we've seen some of the alumni that I'm so honoured to be a part of, and how they've sought the heights, and whether it's an academic achievement or sporting achievement or serving humanity, building prosperity in the community like Craig has done, or trying to model the highest standards of ethic and moral conduct in business and in life, or whether it's just being a good parent and a good person. That's seeking the heights, and that's what my time at Massey has meant to me. So throughout my life I've always tried to do that, and to be recognised with this award today is truly humbling. It's a great honour, and I thank you very much.
I wrote a speech over the last week that would make the Gettysburg Address look like a elementary school prescript, but after listening to Graham, I think I just left it in my jacket pocket. There was Massey High School. The St. Ives got a new deacon. He told the presbyter to write in the Sunday sermon. The sermon couldn't be written by the presbyter because the presbyter couldn't read or write, so the deacon fired him. The presbyter went home. He was sad, disillusioned. He'd worked for the church for 20 years, and he had been a hard-working presbyter. He'd contributed a lot, but sermon writing wasn't part of his daily routine. He got off the train and walked home, about a 20-minute walk from the train station, and he felt like a cigarette. He was very sad, very depressed. He never passed a tobacco shop. He got home and he broke the news to his wife, and over breakfast the next morning she said, "Well, what are you going to do?" He said, "I think that with a little bit of money in the bank, perhaps I will open a tobacco shop between the train station and home and see how it goes." It went very well. He modelled that by walking around the streets of London and opening tobacco shops all over the place. He had, over a 10-year period, amassed quite a fortune. He was just in the solicitor's office signing the papers for a new shop, and a duty solicitor his solicitor was on leave, and a duty solicitor was handling his affairs that day, and the duty solicitor asked him to sign the papers, and he duly passed them to his wife, said, "Read them, if they're in order, tell me where to sign." And the solicitor said, You're a very wealthy man, you've got shops all over London, you've amassed a small fortune, but you can't read or write. She said, "It's absolutely amazing." She said, "Do you know where you would be today if you could read and write?" And he said, "Yeah, I'd be the presbyter at St Ives." I think the story, it's a favourite story of mine. It's W. Somerset Maugham's story, and it relates to the fact that people can achieve things by just by gutsy going out there and getting things done. I think when I was at the first alumni presentation and I saw Jack Adams, and very sad to hear that Jack's ill health on this day. He's got quite a influence, as Grant said, on a lot of people's lives, mine included. But he was a recipient and well earned. Then Colonel Tim Keating, who is now Lieutenant General Tim Keating and in charge of the New Zealand Defence Force. Dr. Robert Dunlop, who is one of the world's leading authorities on ageing, and might have to read an old acquaintance with Robert, but anyway, when I saw people like that taking an alumni award, I thought, well, this is just absolutely fantastic. Not my wildest dreams, but I think that perhaps one day I'd be standing on the podium and accepting an alumni award. But what I didn't factor is that this is Massey High School. It's a school where it's about people. It's about different cultures, different abilities, different dreams and aspirations, and it creates the environment for all people that are prepared to work and prepared to get going in life to achieve something. And I think that's why I like being involved to this very day with the school and making a contribution where I can, if possible. As Grant in his reply talked about people that were important to him. You go to the TV awards and you see the Grammy Awards and the Oscar Awards, and the recipient will get up and they'll get their award, and they'll stand there and, "I'd like to thank my producer." I wish you could sort of say that if you didn't. The next morning you're probably not going to be in the movies or in the song business anymore, and the lucrative income stream is going to sort of diminish a little bit. But for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons, there's a few people in my life that I'd like to say hi to while I'm up here. My wife Sharon put up with, I get it right, she has 39 years of me doing my thing and driving trucks and never being at home, but never complained, always supported me, and at times I kind of wonder why, but she was always there for me. And my daughters Kylie and Rhiannon, who are here today, involved in our family enterprises, and again they stuck with me. When they were kids, I was never at home. I was out doing stuff and business orientated, driving trucks and just doing what you had to do when you didn't have a formal education and you needed to try and make something of your life the best way you knew how. And but they supported me, and they do to this very day. My son-in-laws, absolutely blessed with Dave and Matt. Dave runs the operational side of our enterprise. Matt drives aeroplanes for the Royal New Zealand Air Force. Yeah, with my connections with the Air Force, and I just couldn't be a happier chap. The also some people that are really important that should be recognised today, and they have been talked about. But it's the foundation, and that it's so pleasing to be associated with members of the foundation that I'm here. Our chairman, Mark, that song, sing that song, Van Morrison, Gloria. She comes around, she's 5'4" from her head to the ground. He's writing another one for Mark. He comes around, he's 7'4" from his head to the floor. So but he's big in so many ways. His heart, his focus on people and his work that he does for the foundation. Mark, you're not your singing voice. All right, okay. And I don't know if Reva's here, but I sort of wondered what she's feeling when he was a kid. So, some sort of a manure to get you up to the heights that you are. But anyway, Linda Cooper. Linda's here today, and Linda brings a strong political savvy. Linda's been involved in local government for a long time. She brings a political savvy to our group when we want to do something, and Linda's not there to advise. We sort of run it past the Linda test, like if we grab the foundation checkbook and go down and get some beer and pizzas for the next meeting, we say, will that or will that not pass the foundation, the Linda test? Of course it wouldn't, so we don't do it. Chris, all the printing on the table today by Chris Smith. Chris, the work that you do and your business savvy is unbelievable, and I'm so pleased to be associated with you on that foundation. John Guralja, the chairman of the board of Massey High School. I've renamed John Potadoc Guralja, chairman for life. I mean, talking about people with a big heart. I mean, that guy has got the heart the size of Texas, and so modest, so quiet about what he does, and if his achievements and what he does for the school are just, I mean, you could write a book on it, and a warm human being. And John, you know, I acknowledge you and respect you, and pleased to say that I'm your friend. The Bruce Ritchie, who we're presumably losing as a trustee at the end of the year. If it wasn't for Bruce, there wouldn't be a foundation. And I think it was Bruce's forethought that saw there was a Massey High School foundation, and I think it was Bruce's all that had us want to join the foundation, be part of the foundation. His guidance and his quiet, positive leadership. So, Bruce, we salute you. We're going to miss you, but no doubt we'll see you in future. We're not going to let you go out of our lives, I assure you. But look, I don't want to ramble on anymore. Giddy's a big address was short, so should this be. I just really want to say that, and I had written something here, and the award for me is kind of a different acknowledgement to what others may receive it or perceive it as being. I kind of, for me, it's an acknowledgement of all the kids that have gone through, all the students, all the young people that have gone through Massey High School and walked down the Hall of Fame that is life, and their achievements, and the people that have just lived a good life, as Grant spoke about, contributed to society in whatever way, raised a family, just done good things. I mean, surely if everybody in society just followed those simple values, what a great place we would have. But not all do, but so many do. So I accept that award as some sort of recognition for all those past Massey High School students. So yeah, an amazing honour and something that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Thank you.